The text arrived on a Wednesday morning while I was finishing my shift at the hospital. Dad wanted to see me. Just like that. No warning, no context, just a demand after 3 years of silence. I stared at my phone, the fluorescent hospital lights suddenly too harsh. 3 years of purposeful distance ended with a text message from my brother Ethan. Dad wants us both at the house this weekend. Something about finalizing his will and the future of the practice. No, how are you? Or hope nursing is going well. Just another family command delivered with the same emotional depth as a weather report. But what had I expected? Ethan had always been Dad's favorite, the golden child who could do no wrong. I was the disappointment, the one who questioned, who challenged, who eventually walked away. You okay, Anna? My colleague Brenda touched my shoulder, concern in her eyes. You look like you've seen a ghost. My father wants to see me, I said, the words strange in my mouth. I have to go home. Home. I hadn't called Whispering Pines home since the night Dad had erupted in rage over my career change, had called me ungrateful, had said I was betraying everything he'd worked for. The night I'd packed a bag and walked out, swearing I'd make it on my own. And I had. 3 years of working nights while attending nursing school. 3 years of ignoring the ache when Father's Day commercials played. I checked into the only motel in town late Friday night, unable to face the prospect of staying in my childhood home. The summons had been followed by nothing more than an address I already knew by heart and a time. Saturday, 10 a.m. Saturday morning, I drove past familiar landmarks that seemed smaller now. The house looked exactly the same. Immaculate lawn, trimmed hedges, the porch swing where Mom used to read during summer afternoons before cancer took her when I was 15. Ethan opened the door, looking oddly uncomfortable despite his perfectly pressed casual clothes. Anna, he said, as if confirming I existed. Ethan. We stood awkwardly before he stepped back. Come in. Dad's in his study. I followed him through the house, noting that nothing had changed. Same furniture, same photos on the walls, family portraits that captured moments of happiness that seemed foreign now. Dad sat behind his massive oak desk, looking older than I remembered. More lines around his eyes, more gray in his hair. Still immaculately dressed in a button-down shirt, even on a Saturday. Anna, he said, his expression unreadable. Dada. Ethan closed the door, leaving us alone. The silence stretched between us, 3 years of unspoken words filling the space. You look well, he finally said. So do you. A lie, but a polite one. Sit down. He gestured to one of the leather chairs facing his desk. I sat, feeling like a patient rather than a daughter. I assume Ethan told you why I asked you both here. Something about your will. He nodded, absently straightening papers on his desk. I've been thinking about the future, about legacy. Here it comes, I thought. Another lecture about wasted potential and family tradition. I've decided to make some changes to my will and to the structure of the practice, and he continued. Ethan will become full partner, with a path to taking over completely when I retire in 5 years. I waited for the part that involved me, wondering why he'd summoned me back for this announcement about Ethan. As for you, he said, finally looking at me directly, I've decided that you will receive nothing. The bluntness of it shouldn't have surprised me, but it did. Nothing? Nothing. Not the house, not financial assets, not even your mother's jewelry. May I ask why? You abandoned this family. You threw away the education I provided, the opportunities I created. You chose to walk away from your responsibilities. I chose nursing, not abandonment, I countered, old anger rising. I'm still in medicine, just not the path you dictated. A nurse. He said the word like it tasted bitter. My daughter, scrubbing bedpans and taking orders from real doctors. Is that really what you think nurses do, after working alongside them your entire career? He waved his hand dismissively. The point is, you deliberately defied my wishes, and actions have consequences. So this is punishment. This is reality. Everything goes to Ethan. He's the one who stayed, who honored his commitments. I stood up, unable to remain seated under the weight of his judgment. Is that all? You summoned me back here after 3 years just to tell me I'm disinherited? I wanted you to understand the finality of this decision and to give you one last chance. One last chance for what? To come to your senses, drop this nursing nonsense, return to medical school, join the practice as we always planned. If you do, I'll reconsider the will. I stared at him in disbelief. You're bribing me to give up the career I love? To abandon the life I've built? I'm offering you a chance to be part of this family again. On your terms only. His expression hardened. My terms are the only ones that matter in this house. I'll pass, I said quietly. Keep your money and your conditions. I've managed fine without either for 3 years. I turned to leave, my hand on the doorknob when he spoke again. You're just like your mother, stubborn to the point of self-destruction. Thank you, I said, meaning it. Being compared to Mom was the highest compliment, even when he meant it as criticism. She would be disappointed in how you've turned out. That stopped me. I turned back slowly. You don't get to speak for her. I knew her better than anyone. Did you? Because the mom I remember encouraged us to follow our passions. The mom I remember volunteered at free clinics and taught me that healthcare was about helping people, not status or money. Childish idealism, he scoffed. The real world runs on more practical matters. Like inheritance, I countered. Like using money to control your children. His face flushed with anger. You'll regret this attitude when you're struggling to make ends meet while your brother lives in comfort. I already live in comfort, Dad. I have work that fulfills me, colleagues who respect me, and patients who thank me. What more should I want? Your rightful place in this family. My rightful place was dismissed the moment I chose my own path. I opened the door. Goodbye, Dad. Congratulations, Ethan. The practice is all yours. Ethan was in the hallway, his expression indicating he'd heard at least part of the conversation. He looked torn, caught between family loyalty and something else, maybe regret, maybe envy. Anna, wait, he started. I shook my head, already moving toward the front door. Nothing to wait for. Dad's made everything perfectly clear. I drove straight to Aunt Joanne's house, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. She opened the door before I could knock. I heard you were in town. Come in, sweetie. I collapsed onto her sofa, emotionally drained. He cut me off, completely. Oh, Anna. She sat beside me, taking my hand. Your father has always been a stubborn man, but this? He said I could have my inheritance back if I quit nursing and went to medical school, if I came to my senses and joined the practice. Aunt Joanne's expression darkened. Using money as a weapon, just like his father did to him. I looked at her in surprise. What? Your grandfather threatened to cut your father off if he didn't go to medical school. Warren wanted to be an architect originally. This was news to me. Dad wanted to be an architect? For years, had quite a talent for it too. But his father was a doctor and insisted Warren follow in his footsteps. She shook her head sadly. Now he's doing the same thing to you. And Ethan gets everything because he obeyed. Ethan always was the peacekeeper. Even as children, you were the one who challenged, who questioned. He was the one who smoothed things over. I sighed, leaning back against the cushions. I didn't come back for money, Joanne. I guess I hoped for reconciliation. I know, sweetie. She squeezed my hand. Are you staying in town tonight? I have a room at the motel. Early shift on Monday, so I need to head back tomorrow. She nodded thoughtfully. There's something I think you should see before you go. She disappeared into another room, returning with a small box. These are photos of your mother before she met your father. She was my best friend since kindergarten. I opened the box, finding photos I'd never seen. Mom as a teenager, laughing with Aunt Joanne. Mom at what appeared to be a college party. And then Mom with a man I didn't recognize. They were looking at each other with undisguised affection, his arm around her waist, her head on his shoulder. Who is this? I asked. though something inside me already knew the answer. His name was Daniel Foster. He and your mother dated for nearly 2 years in college. They broke up a few months before she met your father. I stared at the photo. Daniel Foster had dark hair and eyes like mine, a slightly upturned nose like mine, a dimple in his left cheek when he smiled, just like mine. Are you saying? Aunt Joanne squeezed my hand. I'm not saying anything definitive, but the timing? Jennifer was already pregnant when she and Warren got married. It was a whirlwind courtship, 2 months from meeting to wedding. Does Ethan know? No one knows except me. Jennifer confided in me once when she'd had too much wine. She said she wasn't sure, but she suspected. She never told Warren her doubts. She loved him, and he was so excited about the baby. I set the photo down carefully. Where is he now, Daniel? Last I heard, he was a professor at State University. Marine biology. Marine biology. The subject that had fascinated me since childhood, that had briefly made me consider a different path before Dad steered me toward medicine. I need to know, I said softly. For sure. Aunt Joanne nodded. There's a DNA testing kit in the medicine cabinet. I bought it a while back, thinking of researching our family tree. Never got around to it. 2 months later, I was sitting in a cafe on the State University campus, my hands wrapped around a coffee mug to stop them from shaking. The DNA test results had confirmed what the photographs had suggested. Warren Wilson was not my biological father. Anna? I looked up to see him standing there, older than in the photos, of course, gray streaking his dark hair, but with the same eyes I saw in the mirror every day. Professor Foster, I said, standing awkwardly. Daniel, please. He hesitated, then held out his hand. I shook it, noting the same long fingers as mine. Thank you for meeting me, I began. I know this must be unexpected. That's one word for it. He smiled slightly. When I got your email, I thought it might be a scam at first. But then I saw your photo and he shook his head in wonder. It was like looking at Jennifer again. You remember her well? She was my first love. His expression softened with memory. We were young, had different paths ahead of us. The breakup was mutual but painful. I never knew she was pregnant when we parted ways. Never suspected. She married Warren Wilson 2 months after they met. Daniel nodded slowly. I heard about the wedding through mutual friends. Moved away shortly after that. Built a new life. Did you ever marry? Have other children? Married once, divorced 5 years later. No children. He looked at me with undisguised curiosity. Tell me about you. Your email said you're a nurse? Just finished my degree, working in the emergency department at Central Hospital. And you like it? I love it. It's exactly where I'm supposed to be. We talked for hours about my childhood, his career, our shared love of marine biology, about my mother, whom he remembered with obvious affection. Does he know? Daniel asked finally, meaning Warren. Not yet. I'm still processing it myself. Will you tell him? I hesitated. I don't know. He's made it very clear I'm not the daughter he wanted, DNA or no DNA. Daniel's expression darkened. From what you've told me, his treatment of you had nothing to do with biology and everything to do with control. His insight surprised me. That's actually very accurate. Parents who use inheritance as a weapon were never truly giving gifts in the first place. He shook his head. Whether you tell him or not is your decision. But know that I'd like to be part of your life going forward if you're open to that. I'd like that too, I said, surprised to find I meant it. The letter arrived at my apartment a week later, Ethan's handwriting on the envelope. Anna, I hope this finds you well. I've been trying to reach you by phone without success. Things have been difficult here since your visit. Dad's been in a terrible mood, snapping at everyone, even patients. I don't agree with what he's doing. I never wanted to be the reason you were cut off. The practice was always expected to come to me, yes, but not everything else, not like this. There's something else you should know. Dad hasn't been well. Physically, I mean. Some tests came back concerning, and he's scheduled for more next week. He doesn't know I'm telling you this. Whatever happens with the will, I hope we can reconnect as siblings. I miss my sister. Ethan. I called Ethan immediately. Is it serious? I asked, skipping pleasantries. Could be. Abnormal liver function, unexplained weight loss. He's trying to hide it, but as his doctor, I see the results. And he doesn't know you're telling me. He'd be furious, but you deserve to know. Ethan paused. There's more, Anna. After you left, I found an old journal of his from when Mom was pregnant with you. My heart skipped. What did it say? He had suspicions. About you, about your biological father. The world seemed to tilt beneath me. He knew? Suspected. The timing of the wedding, physical differences as you grew older. He wrote about it, but apparently never confronted Mom. Did the journal say anything else? That he decided it didn't matter. That he would raise you as his own, no questions asked. Ethan's voice softened. Anna, whatever his flaws, I believe he did love you, in his way. His way included disinheriting me for choosing my own career path. I know, and I'm not defending that. Ethan sighed. Look, I just thought you should know about his health and the journal. What you do with that information is up to you. Dad's house looked smaller somehow as I pulled into the driveway 2 days later. Ethan's car wasn't there. He was seeing patients at the clinic, according to his text. This conversation needed to be between me and Dad alone. The spare key still worked. I let myself in, hearing the faint sounds of classical music from Dad's study. He looked up when I appeared in the doorway, surprise quickly masked by his typical stern expression. Anna, I didn't expect to see you again so soon. Or ever, I countered, stepping into the room. What brings you back? Unfinished business. I placed the DNA test results on his desk. I think you might be interested in these. His expression didn't change as he glanced at the papers, but his hand, reaching for them, betrayed a slight tremor. What am I looking at? He asked, though I suspected he already knew. DNA test results, mine and Daniel Foster's. His eyes snapped up to meet mine. Daniel Foster. Mom's college boyfriend, the man you suspected was my biological father. A muscle twitched in his jaw. Ethan told you about the journal. Yes, and Aunt Joanne showed me photos. The resemblance is pretty undeniable. Dad picked up the test results, studying them with a doctor's practiced eye. 99.9% probability of paternity, he read aloud. You suspected all along, I said quietly. Did it affect how you treated me? He set the papers down carefully. No. No? Then why the obvious preference for Ethan? Why the rigid expectations? Why threaten to cut me off when I chose a different path? Those things had nothing to do with DNA. His voice was strained. I treated you both according to your individual needs and capabilities. You treated Ethan like a son and me like a disappointment. Dad stood abruptly, moving to the window. His back to me, he said, I never considered you a disappointment until you abandoned your potential. My potential or your plan? They were one and the same. No, they weren't, and now I understand why. I moved to stand beside him at the window. I was never meant to be a doctor. That was your dream, not mine. Just like it wasn't your dream originally, it was your father's. He turned to look at me sharply. Who told you that? Aunt Joanne. She told me you wanted to be an architect. Something flickered in his eyes, an old pain, quickly suppressed. Ancient history. Is it? Or is it the reason you're so determined to control my life? Because you never controlled yours. You don't understand, ah? I understand perfectly. Your father manipulated you with money and approval, just like you're doing to me. It's not the same. It's exactly the same. And now you know I'm not even biologically yours, so you feel justified in writing me off completely. That's not... He stopped, his face suddenly pale. He reached for the desk to steady himself. Dad? Alarm replaced anger as I noticed the sheen of sweat on his forehead. I'm fine. he said automatically, but his breathing was labored. You're not fine. Sit down. I guided him to his chair, medical training taking over. Ethan told me about the tests, the liver function, the weight loss. He had no right. Dad's voice was weaker now. He was concerned, as your son and as your doctor. I pressed my fingers to his wrist, checking his pulse. When was your last dose of medication? He looked surprised. How did you, the pill bottle is on your desk, not very well hidden. I glanced at the prescription label. When did you take it last? This morning. Any other symptoms besides the dizziness? He hesitated, then admitted, nausea, fatigue, some pain on the right side. I nodded, continuing my assessment. We should call Ethan. No. Dad's voice regained some strength. This conversation isn't over. Your health is more important than finding out why I cut you off? Than discussing these DNA results? He gestured weakly toward the papers. It's all connected, Anna. The will, the DNA, all of it. I sat across from him, medical concerns momentarily balanced against the need for answers. I'm listening. He took a deep breath. When your mother told me she was pregnant, I did the math. We'd only been together 6 weeks. I knew there was a possibility the child wasn't mine. Did you confront her? No, I loved her. And when you were born, his voice softened. You were perfect, beautiful. It didn't matter whose DNA you carried. You were my daughter. Then what changed? Nothing changed. I raised you as my own, loved you as my own, until I defied you. He shook his head. It wasn't defiance that bothered me. It was seeing you walk away from medicine, from the path I thought was best for you. The path I was forced onto, but grew to love. You were trying to relive your life through me. I was trying to give you opportunities, on your terms, just like your father did to you. I leaned forward. The difference is I refused to be controlled. I made my own choice. And look where it got you, he said bitterly. Working shifts, living in an apartment, while your brother stands to inherit everything. I'm happy, Dad, truly happy. My work matters. I help people every day. As a nurse? Yes, as a nurse. A profession you clearly don't respect despite working alongside nurses your entire career. He looked away. It wasn't about respect. Then what was it about? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like punishment for not being the daughter you wanted, for not having your DNA and not following your plan. It wasn't about the DNA. The vehemence in his voice surprised both of us. It was never about that. Then why cut me off completely? Why tell me I'm not part of this family anymore? He closed his eyes briefly, seeming to age before me. Because watching you walk away was like losing your mother all over again. The comparison startled me. What does Mom have to do with this? Jennifer was a fighter, stubborn, determined to follow her own path. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. When she got sick, she fought that too, refused to let cancer define her life. I remember. And then one day, she was just gone. Despite everything we tried. Everything medicine could offer. His voice broke slightly. When you announced you were leaving medical school, it felt like you were walking away from everything I believed in. Everything that might have saved her. Understanding dawned. You blamed yourself for not being able to save Mom. And when I chose nursing over becoming a doctor, it felt like rejection of me, of everything I'd built my life around. He looked at the DNA results on his desk. Finding proof that you're not biologically mine just confirms what I've always feared, that I have no right to direct your life, no claim to you at all. That's not true. Biology isn't what makes a father. Isn't it? You're sitting here with DNA test results that prove Daniel Foster is your father. He contributed DNA. You raised me. That counts for something. I paused. Or it would, if you hadn't thrown it away by trying to control me with money and emotional manipulation. He flinched as if I'd struck him. I handled it badly. That's an understatement. I was afraid, he admitted quietly. Afraid of losing you like I lost your mother. Afraid you'd discover the truth about your parentage and reject me. So instead, you hurt me first, cut me off, gave everything to Ethan? I thought I could force you to come back, that faced with disinheritance, you'd reconsider. You thought wrong. Clearly. He looked at me with new eyes, as if truly seeing me for the first time. You really do love nursing, don't you? With all my heart, it's my calling, just like medicine is yours. He nodded slowly. Your mother would be proud of you. She always said compassion was the most important quality in healthcare. She was right. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of unspoken words between us. I'm dying, he said finally. Liver cancer. Stage 4. Though Ethan had hinted at serious health concerns, this announcement hit me like a physical blow. How long? 6 months? Maybe less. Is there treatment? Options? Limited. I've consulted specialists. The prognosis remains the same. I absorbed this, nurse mode and daughter mode warring within me. Does Ethan know the full diagnosis? Yes, he's been managing my care. Another silence fell, heavier this time. I've been a fool, Dad said finally, wasting what time I have left on pride and control. It's not too late to change that. He looked at me, really looked at me. No, it's not. He reached for a pen and paper. I need to make changes to my will. Dad, I didn't come here for your money. I know that now. But this isn't about money anymore. It's about acknowledging who you are, my daughter, regardless of DNA. It's about respecting the path you've chosen. He began writing. You and Ethan will share everything equally, the house, the financial assets. He gets the practice since that's his field, but you get an equal value in other investments. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. He continued writing. Your mother's jewelry collection goes to you entirely. She would have wanted that. I watched him write. This man who had shaped my childhood, who had loved me and failed me in equal measure. Have you met him? Daniel Foster? No, I knew of him. Saw pictures of him with your mother in her college yearbook. I recognized his features in you as you grew older, but we never met. Would you like to? He looked up, surprised. Why would I want that? Because he's part of the truth, part of our family story. Dad considered this. Perhaps, if there's time. I've gotten to know him a little, I admitted. He's a good man, a professor of marine biology. That explains your childhood obsession with sea creatures. A small smile softened his face. Always thought that came out of nowhere. Apparently not. I hesitated. He'd like to meet you too. To thank you for raising me. Dad set down his pen, visibly moved. I don't deserve thanks. Not after how I've behaved. You made mistakes, serious ones. But you also gave me a good childhood, education, opportunities. A family. A family I nearly destroyed with my pride. Nearly, not completely. He reached across the desk, extending his hand tentatively. Can you forgive me, Anna? I looked at his hand, strong yet vulnerable, just like the man himself. I'm working on it. It won't happen overnight. I don't have many nights left. Then we'd better not waste them. I took his hand. I forgive you, Dad. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. We have to rebuild what was broken. I'm willing to try. His voice cracked with emotion. I've been so wrong, Anna. So blinded by my own fears and expectations that I nearly lost you completely. But you didn't. I'm here. Dad squeezed my hand, then released it to reach for his phone. I'm calling my lawyer today. The new will goes into effect immediately. That's not necessary right away. It is. I don't know how much time I have left, but I won't spend another day with that vindictive document in existence. He began dialing. And after this, I'm calling Ethan. We're having dinner together tonight, all three of us. A family dinner, long overdue. 6 months later, I sat beside Dad's hospital bed, adjusting his oxygen. The cancer had progressed faster than expected, leaving him frail but clear minded. We'd made the most of our time family dinners, long conversations, old wounds gradually healing. Is Daniel coming today? Dad asked, his voice weak but interested. This afternoon. He's bringing those marine biology journals you asked about. Dad nodded. The most surprising development of these past months had been his growing friendship with Daniel Foster. After an initially awkward meeting, the two men had discovered shared interests and a mutual respect that transcended their unusual connection. Good. I enjoy his perspective on research methods. The door opened, and Ethan entered with coffee. Morning, Dad. Anna, any change? Blood pressure's lower, oxygen levels stable. I accepted the coffee gratefully. Dad had kept his word. The new will divided everything equally between Ethan and me. But more importantly, he had worked to rebuild our family, arranging weekly dinners, showing genuine interest in my nursing career, and even visiting my hospital to see me in my element. I've been thinking, Dad said suddenly, about the house. Ethan and I exchanged glances. This was a difficult topic, as neither of us planned to live there after Dad was gone. What about it? Ethan asked cautiously. I want you to sell it and use the money to establish a scholarship fund. A scholarship? I asked. The Wilson Foster Healthcare Scholarship, Dad specified, for students pursuing either medicine or nursing. My throat tightened with emotion. The Wilson Foster name, an acknowledgement of both fathers who had shaped my life. That's a wonderful idea, Ethan said, clearly moved as well. I should have recognized long ago that healthcare takes many forms, Dad continued. Doctors and nurses working together. Different approaches, but the same goal helping people. I adjusted his pillows, professional training merging with daughterly affection. There's time to make up for that now. Not much time, he countered, but without bitterness. Ethan checked Dad's chart, his doctor's eyes scanning the numbers. The scholarship is perfect, Dad. A legacy that honors both parts of our family. And recognizes both paths in healthcare, I added. Mom would have loved that. Dad smiled faintly. She always did see things more clearly than I did. He turned his gaze to the window where autumn leaves danced in the afternoon light. When Daniel comes, ask him to bring those photos of the coral reef research. I want to see what you might have become if biology had won out over medicine. I became exactly what I was meant to be, I said, squeezing his hand. Yes, Dad agreed, surprising me with the certainty in his voice. You did, Anna, and I'm proud of you for that, for being brave enough to find your own way. Coming from the man who had once disinherited me for that very choice, these words carried a weight that no inheritance ever could. In the end, what mattered wasn't the money or property that would pass between us, but the healing that had taken place, the recognition that family transcends biology, that forgiveness is possible, and that sometimes finding your inheritance means discovering who you truly are.